Okay, now that we've seen the battle to completion, let's go back and take a look where tilt showed up. It might not have been as evident. And a lot of times when we think about tilt, we think about just being upset. There's actually quite a few more ways to tilt than we might be aware of. And again, like G.I. Joe says, like knowing is half the battle. So let's go back and look at the text. So he looked over at David, saw that he was little more than a boy, and he despised him. Goliath is now upset. It doesn't say that he's angry, but when you despise somebody, you can't hate somebody without feeling like that, that rage inside of you. So basically what I interpret this is it's saying that Goliath is pissed. Like, so now he's about to try and fight angry, and therein lies the problem. So Goliath's already lost his battle before it even started because now he's not fighting with a clear head. And that can happen to us in DFS. Like, if we had a bad day at work, if we had, we just got in a fight with a significant other, a loved one, a friend, if we're tired, if we're feeling like, we're God's gift to DFS, overconfidence, that's something, entitlement, that can put us on tilt. Being tired, like that can put us on tilt. There's all of these things. Basically, like if you're not feeling fully centered and fully rested, you can still play DFS, but like if it's really affecting you, like that's a good way to take a day off. I volunteered at a kids camp on Friday, and on Saturday I was just exhausted and I just didn't have it. And like nothing is worse than like playing DFS when you're not feeling it and you're like, oh, like I'm gonna play today, and if I win then I'll feel better. And it's like, so you play, but then you lose and now you feel like doubly worse. So I only rail on it because I've done it so many times. So like I finally learned my lesson. Maybe I would have won on Saturday. I looked at some of the teams I would have been on, probably would have won. You know what? Sunday rolled around. I'm like, hey, you know what? It's been almost 2 years since I've taken, 3 days off in a row. Like, let's do it, and there's things that it can lead to, especially if you look at, what you could have lost, then you're running into an entitlement tilt. Like this happens with especially in NBA with the stat corrections. Like I'll see guys like complaining like, dude, I would have won $500, but then after the stat correction, I broke even. I lost $500. It's like, no. You didn't win any money until the results were final and money is in your account. That's not DraftKings' fault. That's not stat correction. That's nobody's fault. That's your own fault. Like, we need to be adults. We need to take ownership for this stuff. And I do the same thing. I'll be watching baseball results and I'll be way up here. Someone hits a home run and I'm like right here. And maybe it's a small winning day, but because it wasn't up here and it's right here, I don't appreciate it as much as I should. And that's crap too. Like that's a leak in my mental game. Like that's tilt that I struggle with. And we got to be aware of it in order to address it. And talking these things out, having people, that we can lean on, writing things down, getting things out of our head. But the best way to overcome tilt is to take a look at, what, again, going back to what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks of a professional versus an amateur. Like what would an amateur do? Let's do the opposite and let's be professionals. The only reason I'm any good at DFS is I basically 3 years ago started focusing on doing the opposite of the knucklehead player that I was and just slowly get a little bit better. And even now, if I'm struggling with the decision, I just ask myself, what would a professional do? What would an amateur do? And then at that point, I know what to do. So what did David do differently than Goliath? When Goliath was absorbed with himself, how good he was, David was focused on his God. So Goliath thought that the battle was in his hands, and he thought he won, and that's why he was talking all that garbage to David. David knew that the victory was in God's hands, and he had seen God work, so he knew what God was going to do. Like, he was toast. Like, David knew that the victory was already his. He stayed confident based on what God had done for him in the past and was now focused on the present. So a lot of what tilt is things that have happened typically in the past that are affecting us today. We got to leave it in the past. We got to focus on the present. And if we can't focus on the present, that's a good indicator that we shouldn't be playing that day. So we need to, David approached it with a clear head and focus on executing his plan. We need to do the same thing. Going back to, I got ahead of myself. I told you guys I would do it. I did it, I'm consistent like that. So Goliath said, am I a dog that you come at me with sticks? When he was talking trash to David at the end of the story, after David had just shown up and, dominated the GPP, he took first place, basically said, who is this guy? I'm just a servant, Jesse's my dad. That's all he said. Like, that's respectable. That's cool. Like, that's somebody to look up to. Like, when you guys like, JG, like, why don't you post screenshots? It's like, because I don't want anybody feeling crappy. Like, I'll show you my bad screenshots so that you can be relatable, so you can see me vulnerable, so you can see that you're not the only person going through that, but I'm not out here to pump my own chest. Like, I know what my results say. Like, if you want to know what type of player I am, go look at wherever you can find results. Go look at, the roto grinders thing. I don't care. Like, I don't have anything to prove. I'm just here to help. I'm here to do good. I'm here to, start pushing back on the people that are taking advantage of us, but let's continue to be humble as we become, more and more winning players. We talked about tilt comes in different forms. There's actually more ways that we can be tilting, but, the thing I want to focus on is, do we see David feeling any of these emotions before he's about to go in battle? Like, no, he's not, so we really, if we're feeling any kind of thing in our spirit, in our chest, in our emotions, if we're feeling mentally fatigued, if sometimes it might be simple as, hey, just go take a nap, let your emotions calm down, like go take a 30-minute nap. I know we can't do that sometimes with you guys that got day jobs, but, be aware of how you're feeling and where your head's at, because that's going to matter, and that's how you're going to help avoid tilt. So I've referenced this book in one of my other videos, Brandon Adams, and Brandon Adams is just, he plays DFS, he plays poker. Guy's a really successful guy. He wrote this book, Personal Organization for Degenerates, and this is basically when he talks about tilt. Like, this is probably the best thing I've ever read on tilt. And basically he says, in tilt, poker, life, anything, DFS, do nothing. So if, and I say this all the time, like the only reason I'm doing, relatively well at DFS is I'm just making less mistakes than other people. I'm just trying to be more of a JG the professional versus JG the amateur. Like, that's all we can do. So just fail slower than other people. We can fail quicker by being on tilt. So if you're feeling like you're on tilt, try to avoid any activity. If you're playing poker, playing DFS, quit, fold. If you manage a hedge fund, go take a long lunch, take a nap. If you're on tilt, just quit making consequential decisions. So if your head's not clear, and this happens outside of DFS, sometimes like someone will try to talk to me about something, and I'm just like, hey, you know what? Can I just take 15 minutes? Like my head's not in a good place right now. Like let me take a walk, let me catch my breath, and then we can have a more adult conversation about this. You guys thought you were coming here for DFS, and I'm out here dropping Dr. Phil's on you guys. So I'm just kidding, but this is a great book. I highly recommend it. You can't make good decisions in a fast-moving present when you're stuck in the past, and that's pretty much all tilt is. So we want to try to be as focused on the present as we possibly can, and being aware of what's tilting us. So how do we overcome tilt? If we're on any tilt in any way, shape, or form, stop, take a breath, do nothing. Let's keep our heads clear. Let's control our control what we can control. Prayer, meditation. I start my day every day in prayer. I end it every day in meditation. So my day is bookended by quiet. The rest of my day may be, busy chaos, whatever, but I'm getting I can keep my head clearer by starting my day in quiet, and I recommend that for you guys too. Control what we control. When we talked over the baseball stuff, we put together a checklist. Like, it doesn't matter what happens after lineup lock. That's out of my hands. Like, I've joked around with you guys that, like, I approach DFS like Joker approaches, the Heath Ledger Batman. He lights the money on fire. Like, I've made my peace. Like, I've lit my money on fire. Like, I already know, like, this could go poorly, but it allows me to play with a clear head. Control what I can control. Download my CSV. Work in my lineups. Nice. Staying in flow, cool, relaxed, staying confident. That's how we need to be building. That's, if your hour before DFS lineup lock is chaos, like, you've already lost. You're focused on too many things you can't control. Yes, there are going to be things that jam us up, lineup changes, late lineups. I get all of that, but the best that we can't control when the Rockies get their lineup out. We know that they're going to do that annoying crap. Same thing with the Astros on their West Coast trip. We can't control that. So what can we control? Well, we can do A, B, and C, and then we'll adjust later. That's it. Just be nice to yourself, And, as we get better, stop reading our own press clippings. Like, and I joke about this all the time. Like, I'll go on a heater, and I'll just be dominating on DraftKings, and then I'm like, I'm God's gift to DFS. Let's play FanDuel. Let's play Yahoo. Let's play Fantasy Draft. Boom, I'm going to wreck everything. Awesome-o 2.0, look out, here's your boy. And then I lose. And it's like, I went from being calm and cool in my build-up working on one site to now I'm working on 4 sites, and I'm frenetic, and I'm all over the place, and I'm stressed, and it's like, then I lose. And it's like, well, chicken or the egg? Did I lose because I was frustrated, or did I lose because, I basically put myself on tilt by, trying to do too much? So a lot of you guys are like, dude, like, should we play on this? I'm like, no, man, like, I probably suck. I know what my results say on FanDuel, so that's why I switched to DraftKings. Like, and I tell you guys, like, I'm not like one of these big baller shot callers. Like, I'm just, a good player that makes it count. Like, I'm not a great DFS player. So be encouraged by that. Like, and if you're playing on too many sites, like, that could be your tilt. Like, that could be causing your stress. Like, focus on one thing at a time, get a little bit better. Like, if you're sucking on FanDuel, that's a tough place for a new player to play. Go to DraftKings. I highly endorse DraftKings. It's an awesome place to learn the game. They have a ton of contests at the lower buy-ins. We've talked about that. So when our heads are clear and we're no longer our tilt, guess what? Our shine comes back. Our enthusiasm comes back. The etymology of enthusiasm is from God. So people are like, I don't know what I should do. It's like, well, what are you charged up about? Like, that's God speaking to you. I was exhausted after helping out at that kids camp. I did not feel like playing DFS on Saturday. Didn't really feel like playing on Sunday. Guess what? Your boy was fired up yesterday. That day, those days off, I'm getting tongue-tied. I hope you guys can understand this. I'm probably talking way too fast. I had 3 cups of coffee today. But anyway, like, just listen to your body, your mind, your body, and spirit. When that's clear, you're going to be a very, very, much more successful player than other ways, because your enthusiasm comes back. Then you can start slaying those giants. So I probably didn't cover everything related to tilt. Again, we're just trying to bullet point some stuff and give you guys something to think about. My favorite thing to do is help give you guys something outside of the box and apply it to DFS, because that helps me so much. And I really like helping you guys getting out of your bubble and out of your comfort zone to approach things differently and solve some of these issues with outside the box solutions. So I hope this helps, and I hope this gives you some things to think about overcoming tilt. Save the best for last. Come back, we're going to talk about how to overcome downswings.